In this video, we're going to step through setting up our canvas so that our UI stays consistent throughout our game window and when you do a build, and also so that it stays consistent between computers with different resolutions and screen size. If you need to go through setting up a new Unity project, there is another video called Setting Up a New Project. I'm going to assume that you have already gone through those steps. You have your Unity editor open with a new project and a scene ready to go. So first things first, we do need to create a canvas in our hierarchy. Think of the canvas as like a clear transparency that houses all of your UI elements. So your text, your buttons, your input fields, your panels, anything that you want to display on the screen when you're playing your game. And it usually looks like it's being held right in front of your camera. So that's why I kind of think of it as like a transparency in front of the camera. Works pretty well. So in my hierarchy, I'm going to right click, UI, Canvas. And it actually creates two different elements in here, the canvas element and the event system. You should never do anything to this event system. Don't add any extra scripts. Don't alter anything in here, and absolutely do not delete it. If you delete the event system out, then your UI is going to stop working. And that's actually one of the things I suggest checking first if you set up a bunch of buttons and a bunch of other things on your canvas and you go into play and nothing seems to be interacting at all. Like you're clicking on the buttons and they're not even changing color. Make sure that your event system didn't accidentally get deleted. You can always create a new one by right-clicking in the hierarchy, going to the UI, and setting an event system in there. But you only need one event system per scene. So don't make a bunch of them. Don't delete them. Don't add scripts to them either. Just leave it alone. Pretend it's not even there. And what we're going to focus on is the canvas. So this is a couple step process to make sure that our canvas will stay consistent and not have our UI elements float around depending on what our view window is. So if that ends up happening, like you make your canvas, you put some buttons and text, and you go to the game and it looks fine, but you build it out and your UI looks completely different, or you work on a computer at home, you work on your home computer and it looks good, and then you bring it to school and you put it on the school computer and it looks messed up, you probably did not set up your canvas correctly. So we're going to go through the steps on setting this up for the way that you're going to be doing it in all of your projects for at least SGD 113. In your other design, if you're in 112 or 212 or a different SGD class, you might have other requirements, but you most likely will have to go through the same steps, but the actual numbers might be slightly different. So with the canvas selected, we're going to go to the inspector. And what we want to look for is down here underneath the canvas scaler. Rather than having the UI scale mode set to constant pixel size, we need to change this to scale with screen size. And this will make sure that our UI elements stay in a consistent spot no matter what. At least for SGD 113, though, we're not working at an 800 by 600. We need to change this to 1024 by 768. Again, if you're not in SGD 113 and you're watching this, you might have other numbers to put in here, but this is just for SGD 113. We work in 1024 by 768. So that's the first thing you have to do. The second thing you have to do is you need to go to your game window, and that's this one right here if you're using the default layout. And we need to change the free aspect from free aspect to the standalone 1024 by 768. And what it's going to do is it's going to crop your game window so that it is at 1024 by 768, and your canvas will then be at a consistent size. In fact, let me put it back to free aspect for a second and show you what's going on in the scene, because we can zoom out. Let me double click on the canvas to zoom out really far, and we can see that it's still like a really wide screen. In fact, if I change the shape of this window, my game window, you can see that, I don't know if you can kind of see that it changes depending on the shape of this. So if I start off really skinny and I pop back, do you see, I have to go from the game to the scene. It changes based on the shape of that game window, and that's not a really good way to set up, because that's the canvas right there. That's not a good way to set up your UI, because it's going to change. Like if you're working that size and then you go to another computer that's like this size, your UI is going to go all over the place. So that's why in the game window we need to change it from free aspect to standalone 1024 by 768. It then crops it to be exactly that size so that our canvas will always be that shape no matter what. Now we are free to start working on our canvas. The other thing I do want to show you is I double clicked on that canvas to zoom out, but you also want to click this 2D button right here, and then I'll turn you into a 2D view so that you can really see that canvas. And just remember, instead of trying to actually zoom out by scrolling your middle mouse button, just double click the canvas to zoom out, and then you can just zoom in a little bit. But that's just this 2D button right here. Switches you to 2D mode so that you can place your UI elements a lot easier.